I'm going to tell you a story that my grandmother told me about my great-great-grandfather. I'll be passing this story down to you. You might ask, well, why do families pass stories down to the next generation? My grandmother Lucy said that it's because we need to know where we came from, what difficulties and experiences they went through to get us where we are today. My grandmother passed the story down to her children, and they passed it on to their children. And my grandmother even got the opportunity to pass it down to many of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I know when I saw this picture hanging on her wall, I began to ask questions. Who is this man, and what is he doing? So now I'm telling my children and students the story that my grandmother told me. The story of Armstead. I am the great-great-granddaughter of a runaway slave who desired to be free. His name was Armstead Earls. Armstead grew up with his parents on his master's farm back in Louisiana. His dad left his family years earlier. He hated being a slave. They think he may have gone and joined those fighting for the Union. Armstead hated being poor and the inhumane conditions that his people lived in. He hated being a slave. He wanted better for he and his mom. He wanted better for his people. So one night, after his mom had gone to sleep, Armstead stole away into the darkness. Armstead wanted to be his own man. So he followed the path to freedom by heading west. He had been told that life was better in Texas. There in Texas, he met his beautiful wife, Susan, and to their union, they began to have children. Armstead wanted to provide for his family, so he became a soldier in the 10th Cavalry. They were called Buffalo Soldiers by the Indians because their hair reminded them of the hair of the buffalo. Also, history tells us that they fought tenaciously like the buffaloes did out on the plain. Armstead was a very brave soldier. My grandmother said that he protected people of all races when he was stationed in Texas and in Arizona. In spite of facing discrimination and danger, he was willing to pay a high price to be free and for the freedom of others. So, we pass on stories to share what our family members value. In this story, Armstead valued his freedom. He hated being a slave. He wanted a better way of life. So he ran away and joined the army and became a Buffalo Soldier. There, he was able to not only fight for his freedom, but for the freedom of all people. Armstead valued family and freedom.